Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Macrobiology Simplified. I hope you have went through the previous three part of rapid review macrobiology. In this fourth part, I have discussed 11 important high topics from various portion of microbiology. So it is a mixed video in which you will be able to revise questions, especially from parasitology, mycology, which was left in the previous three parts. So just go through it. You will definitely enjoy and be able to revise the important things. Okay, all the best. Let's start with the video. So the first MCQ. A mother brought his 5-year-old son to pediatrician. The boy was passing loose bulky stool for the past 20 days. This was often associated with pain in abdomen. Pediatrician ordered the stool examination which showed the following organism, identify the organism. So what is mentioned in the question? Loose bulky stool. Loose bulky stool is usually because of fat malabsorption. Okay. Fat malabsorption, which is also known as steatorrhea, and it is for past 20 days, so it is a chronic condition and also associated with pain in abdomen. An organism, if you see, it is a pear-shaped or heart-shaped organism with a pair of nucleus, and you can also see pairs of flagella. So there are total 4 pair of flagella which can be seen. Okay, so total 8 flagella or 4 pair of flagella, 1 pair of nucleus, pyriform shaped or heart shaped. So this is a case of Giardia duodenalis infection. Okay, so the organism responsible for this is Giardia lamblia, which is now known as Giardia duodenalis. Earlier it was known as Giardia lamblia and Giardia intestinalis, but now it is known as Giardia duodenalis. So some key points of Giardia duodenalis we'll see. Giardia duodenalis, it belongs to lumen-dwelling flagellate protozoan parasite, and it resides in duodenum and jejunum. And morphologically, it has got two forms. One is trophozoite, another is cyst form. The trophozoite form, as I told you, is heart or pyriform shape. Heart or pyriform shape, and it is around 15 into 9 micron in dimension, and it is bilaterally symmetrical. It is bilaterally symmetrical. So it has got a pair of nucleus and an anterior flagella, a ventral flagella, a posterior flagella, and a caudal flagella. Okay, so total 4 pair of flagella, and the motility which is seen in Giardia duodenalis is falling leaf motility, which you can remember like Giardia sounds like garden, and in garden we can see leaf. So Giardia has got falling leaf motility. The cyst is oval in shape, and it is around, it's little smaller than trophozoite, is around 12 into 8 in micron in dimension, and it has got 2 pair of nucleus, that is total 4 nucleus, and a diagonally placed exostyle which is responsible for the future development of the flagella when the condition is favorable to it. So this is the characteristic of the cyst. Okay, oval shape, 4 pair of nucleus, and exostyle. Okay, the disease which is seen in Giardia duodenalis, it does not invade the tissue, and that is why it is often asymptomatic, and when symptomatic it leads to fat malabsorptions. Okay, along with that we can also see dull epigastric pain as mentioned in the question, belching and flatulence, and the stool contains mucus and fat only but no blood, so it is non-bloody diarrhea. And along with fat malabsorption, it also leads to malabsorption of vitamin A, B12 and folic acid. Okay, remember this. And lab diagnosis can be made by the direct examination of the wet mount of a stool, which will demonstrate the trophozoite. To enhance the chances of isolation of the organism from the specimen, what we can do, we can directly take the specimen from the duodenum by a test known as Intero test or string test, in which we will ask the patient to swallow a string, and to the end of that string a gelatin capsule is attached. Gelatin capsule is attached, and it is kept there for around 2 hours, and after 2 hours this string will be taken out, and we can centrifuge it, and from the sediment we can make the wet mount and demonstrate the Giardia duodenalis. Okay, and the treatment is usually done by metronidazole 250 mg thrice daily for 7 days, or also we can do the treatment with tindazole 2 gram single dose. Okay, so either tindazole or metronidazole. Okay. Now the second question, a patient came to gynecology OPD with complaints of foul smelling, frothy vaginal discharge and intense itching. Okay, on examination the cervix appeared strawberry-like. Which of the following statement is false regarding the causative organism? So the patient is suffering from vaginitis with a frothy vaginal discharge, that is a profuse vaginal discharge with intense itching, and cervix appears strawberry-like. So the clue to the answer is these two, strawberry cervix and intense itching along with the vaginal discharge. Intense itching along with the vaginal discharge usually seen in trichomoniasis, and it is confirmed by the colposcopic examination of cervix, in which we can see the strawberry cervix. Okay, so this is a case of trichomoniasis. So just see the clinical presentation quickly. Clinical presentation: in men it is often asymptomatic and may lead to urethritis, prostatitis and epididymitis. In women it causes pruritic vaginitis with malodorous vaginal discharge, which is often yellow in color. Okay, and there is vulvar erythema and itching. Okay, along with dysuria or urinary frequency and dyspareunia. The dysuria, dyspareunia, these are characteristic of trichomoniasis. And we can also see strawberry cervix, which is also known as colpitus macularis. Colpitus macularis, which is usually seen in colposcopy but may be missed in routine vaginal examination. So you can see this cervix which looks like strawberry, so that is why it is called as strawberry cervix. Okay, so the first option, it exists in cyst and trophozoite form. Cyst and trophozoite form, no, this option is incorrect. It belongs to lumen dwelling flagellate protozoan parasite, and the species is Trichomonas vaginalis, hominis and tenax, and morphologically it has got only trophozoite stage, no cystic stage, and the motility of trophozoite is characteristically twitching motility or jerking motility. Twitching or jerky motility. Okay, so this is characteristic. It is pear shape or oval shape, you can say, and it has got single nucleus and 4 anterior flagella. Okay, and one flagella which runs along the outer membrane or outer margin of undulating membrane. So how many flagella? 4 plus 1, total 5 flagella and 1 nucleus. So this is the characteristic of trophozoite of Trichomonas, okay, vaginalis. So in examination they may again give you the image to identify. So just see for the shape, pear shape or oval shape, and single nucleus and 4 plus 1 flagella. Okay, so first option is incorrect one. Okay, so it is an obligate parasite. Yes, it is an obligate parasite. And what is obligate parasite? Obligate parasite, that which cannot survive outside the host, as Toxoplasma gondii and Plasmodium. Facultative parasite which can survive outside the host also and can survive inside the host, that such as very good example of is free living amoeba, that is Naegleria fowleri, Balamythia mandrialis and Acanthamoeba. Accidental parasite which does not cause infection to human but may causes infection accidentally, as in case of Echinococcus granulosus which causes hereditary disease. And aberrant parasites such as Toxocara canis, which cannot develop further inside the human host. Okay, so there is no further development. Ectoparasite which survives on the surface of the host, such as lice, ticks and mites. So option C, the gold standard for diagnosis is culture on CPLM or PEM. To the contrary to the popular belief that only bacteria can be cultured, the parasite can also be cultured, and among the protozoan parasite, almost all can be cultured except Coccidia, which can be cultured only in the cell lines. Okay, Coccidia which can be cultured only in cell lines. And this Trichomonas culture is considered as gold standard in medium such as CPLM, which is cysteine, peptone, liver, maltose, and PEM, that is plastic envelope medium. Okay, so this is also correct. You can take the screenshot of this table, and you can remember the name of the other culture medium used for various protozoan parasite. Now the treatment of choice is metronidazole. Yes, the treatment of choice is metronidazole, and Treatment of both partners is recommended in case of trichomoniasis because it may cause infection in male patient also. And metronidazole 2 gram orally as a single dose or 500 mg orally BD for 7 dose is drug of choice. And in pregnancy, metronidazole is safe in second and third trimesters. Okay, so drug of choice is metronidazole, either a single dose of 2 gram or 500 mg BD for 7 days, whatever. Okay. Now the third question, which is related to the previous question, is again on the vaginal discharge. A 27-year-old woman presented with a malodorous discharge in the vagina, which is started a week earlier. On examination, Whiff's test is positive and the gram stain shows presence of clue cells. The infection is commonly treated with which of the following? So what is the infection? Malodorous discharge. Okay. First hint is the discharge is malodorous. Second is Whiff test is positive. And third is gram stain shows presence of clue cells. So clue cells, Whiff test and malodorous discharge. Okay. No mention about itching, no mention about any strawberry cervix. So it is definitely not a case of trichomoniasis. So what it is a case of? It is a case of bacterial vaginosis. Why I am saying this? So we'll see the discussion. Bacterial vaginosis, it is caused by Gardnerella vaginalis. Also, it may be caused by certain anaerobic bacteria such as Mobiluncus and Mycoplasma hominis. Symptoms: malodorous vaginal discharge, the first symptom. And it may be moderate, white or grey and homogeneous. Signs: no erythema or valvular or vaginal epithelium. So there is no erythema. So there is no erythema or itching as we have seen in case of trichomoniasis. pH of vaginal fluid is usually more than 4.5. Whiff test. Whiff test is basically a test to demonstrate the fishy odor of vaginal discharge, which is because of production of trimethylamine. So this amine is responsible for the fishy odor of vaginal discharge when 1% of potassium, 10% of potassium hydroxide is added with the vaginal discharge. Okay, so it will lead to development of a fishy odor. Microscopically, we can see the clue cells, and the clue cells are basically vaginal epithelial cells which is coated with Coccobacillary organism. So you can see this is a normal epithelial cell which is not coated with any organism, and this is the clue cell. You can see the granular appearance and indistinct border. Granular appearance and indistinct border along with so many Coccobacillary organism attached to it. So this is typically clue cells. Okay. So the criteria which is used to diagnose a case of bacterial vaginosis is known as Amsel's criteria. Amsel criteria has got 4 criteria. Out of this, at least 3 should be present. So we will see that in the question whether 3 criteria is present or not. First is objective sign of increased white homogeneous vaginal discharge. The white homogeneous vaginal discharge is mentioned in the question. So 1 is okay. Second, vaginal discharge pH of more than 4.5. It is what was not mentioned. Okay. Liberation of distinct fishy odor in Whiff test. Whiff test is positive, so it is mentioned in the question. So these 2 are there in the question. And the last one, microscopic demonstration of clue cell on wet mount. So these 3. So at least 3 of 4 should be present. So this is a case of bacterial vaginosis. And earlier, instead of Nugent Amsel criteria, Nugent scoring was used. And what is Nugent scoring? Nugent scoring is based on a gram staining scoring based on gram staining, and will demonstrate the gram positive rods and gram variable rods in the clue cells. So it was basically a gram staining scoring system. Whereas in case of Amsel criteria, the clue cells are seen in wet mount, not in gram staining. Remember this. Gram staining is done in Nugent scoring, not in Amsel criteria. And the treatment, standard treatment is metronidazole 500 mg BID for 7 days along with clindamycin 2% 100 mg vaginally each night for 7 days, or with metronidazole gel intravaginally once daily for 5 days. So these 2 gel, clindamycin or metronidazole, and orally metronidazole 500 mg BID for 7 days. Alternatively, we can also use secnidazole 2 gram single dose. Okay. and oral clindamycin 300 mg BID for 7 days, and oral tindazole 1 gram daily for 5 days. So this is the treatment. So answer to this question was metronidazole, because they asked the drug of choice. So drug of choice is metronidazole. Though the treatment for both trichomoniasis and bacterial vaginosis is metronidazole, but the presentation is very different. Okay. Consumption of uncooked pork is likely to cause which of the following helminthic infection? So if you see these first three, these three is cystode, okay, and this is nematode first of all. Now among these three, it will require an intermediate host. Okay, it will require an intermediate host, whereas Trichuris trichura does not require intermediate host. So it will complete life cycle in single host, that is human. Single host, that is human. Okay. So what are the intermediate hosts in case of Taenia saginata and Solium hydrated cyst? In case of hydrated cyst, the intermediate host or accidental host is human, okay, and the definitive host is dog, and it is caused by Echinococcus granulosus. Echinococcus granulosus. Echinococcus granulosus. Okay, so this is out. This is out. Taenia solium and Taenia saginata. Taenia solium is caused by ingestion of or consumption of uncooked or undercooked pork, whereas saginata is caused by consumption of undercooked or uncooked beef. Okay, so this is known as pork tapeworm, and this is known as beef tapeworm. Okay, how to remember this? What I used to do, pork is a small animal, so it is associated with the smaller name, whereas beef is a large animal, so it is associated with a larger name. You can remember it like this. Beef is a large animal, so उसका जो organism होगा associated वो भी उसका नाम भी large होगा. तो saginata large है, solium थोड़ा small है. Okay, so answer to this question is Taenia solium. Okay, a patient present with severe pain and swelling in his knee joint for 10 days. He also complains of pain and discomfort during urination. He says that he had diarrhea 1 month ago. It's not mother, it's month ago, and he has been unwell since then. What is the most likely diagnosis? Reactive arthritis, enteropathic arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and psoriatic arthritis. So currently he is suffering from severe pain and swelling in the knee joint, and also complains of pain and discomfort during urination, that may be because of urethritis, and history of diarrhea 1 month before. So what it is a case? So it is a case of reactive arthritis. Okay, it is a case of reactive arthritis. Okay, so reactive arthritis is earlier known as Retter's syndrome, and it is acute non-purulent arthritis, and the inciting infections may be sexually acquired reactive arthritis, or it may be post-dysenteric reactive arthritis. Sexually acquired reactive arthritis includes the agent which causes urethritis, such as chlamydia trachomatis, mycoplasma genitalium, ureaplasma urolithecum, and Neisseria gonorrhoeae. Whereas post-dysenteric pneumatic arthritis, reactive arthritis is caused by the agent which causes dysentery, such as Salmonella, Shigella, Yersinia enterocolitica, Yersinia pseudotuberculosis, Campylobacter jejuni, and Clostridium difficile, but not the Escherichia coli. That is EIEC and EHEC is not responsible for reactive arthritis. Okay, and the Shigella species which is commonly responsible for this is Shigella flexneri, and may caused by Shigella sonnei and Shigella dysentery, but commonly responsible is Shigella flexneri. Okay, and it is characterized by arthritis, which is oligoarticular, asymmetric, and involves usually lower extremities, and digits may appear sausage shape. Urogenital lesions such as urethritis and prostatitis in men, and cervicitis and salpingitis in women. Ocular disease such as conjunctivitis and uveitis, and mucocutaneous lesion such as keratoderma blennergica and succinate balanitis. So this is the characteristic feature of the disease, reactive arthritis. Okay, sorry for the mistake. Question number 6. A patient presented with a black, foul-smelling discharge from nose. On examination, blackish necrotic mass filling the nasal cavity and eroding the septum and hard palate was seen. What is the most important risk factor for the disease? So what it is a case? It is a case of blackish necrotic mass filling the nasal cavity. It is a case of mucormycosis on the basis of the information provided. Black, foul-smelling discharge, blackish necrotic mass filling the nasal cavity, eroding the septum and the hard palate. So this is a late stage or late end stage disease caused by mucor species known as mucormycosis. And the risk factor for this is diabetes, the hyperglycemia, or the diabetic ketoacidosis. These two are the important reason for this development of mucormycosis, especially in diabetic patients. So we will see the discussion. Mucormycosis, the species which is responsible belongs to order Mucorales, and the species commonly responsible are Mucor, Rhizopus and Epsidia. And the risk factors, the most important is uncontrolled diabetes, especially the diabetic ketoacidosis, neutropenia, glucocorticoid therapy, and elevated level of free iron. Okay, and the pathogenesis behind is angioinvasiveness of the fungus, which invade the orbit, sinuses, and brain. And the clinical presentation, the most common clinical presentation is orbitocerebral or rhinocerebral form. This is the most common presentation. And nasal congestion, pain, and difficulty in breathing. This is seen early, and later it may be seen as mentioned in the question, that is a black smelling discharge, black material filling the nasal cavity, and erosion of nasal septum and hard palate. So this is the late stage or end stage presentation of mucormycosis. Okay. So mucormycosis, when it is observed microscopically, what we can see, the characteristic which may be mentioned in the question. Exam में क्या लिखा सकता है? Broad aseptate or pauciseptate. कहीं कहीं septation दिखाई देगा, जैसे कि यहाँ you can see the septation. Okay, aseptate or pauciseptate, ribbon shaped hyphae. So this is characteristic of mucor. Okay, this is characteristic of mucor. Ribbon shaped broad aseptate hyphae. Okay, a 24-year-old woman presented with pruritic hyperpigmented macule and confluent patches over the chest, skin scraping and KOH preparation show an abundance of yeast-like cells and short branch filament like spaghetti and meatball appearance as shown in the image below. What is the most likely organism? So this spaghetti and meatball appearance, this is the clue to the answer. Spaghetti and meatball appearance, where we can see both the hyphae and the yeast formed together. And also there is hyperpigmented macule seen on the chest. So this is a case of pityriasis versicolor. Pityriasis versicolor, which is caused by Malassezia furfur. Okay, so pityriasis versicolor, which is caused by Malassezia furfur, which is a lipophilic yeast-like fungus. Lipophilic yeast-like fungus, and the site which commonly affected is stratum corneum. And clinical feature is macular area of depigmentation or discoloration of skin, which commonly affect chest, abdomen, upper limb and back. Chest, abdomen, upper limb and back. And lab diagnosis shows abundance of yeast-like cells and short branch filament, giving it a spaghetti and meatball appearance. Okay, and the culture medium used for diagnosis is HDA covered with olive oil. So as it is a lipophilic fungus, so olive oil will promote the growth of the organism. Okay, so क्या क्या याद रखना है? स्पेगेटी मीटबॉल याद रखना है, ऑलिव ऑयल याद रखना है, डीपिगमेंटेशन डिस्कलरेशन ऑफ स्किन याद रखना है, और मेलासीजिया फरफर याद रखना है. ठीक है, सो पिट्रियासिस versicolor complete. So you can see this hyperpigmented macule. This is image of the back of the patient. Okay. In a patient, corneal scraping reveals narrow-angled septate hyphae. Which of the following is likely? Etiologic agent mucor, Aspergillus, Histoplasma, Candida. Narrow-angled septate hyphae कहीं भी अगर दिख जाए तो सीधा आंसर लगाना है Aspergillus. Narrow-angled septate hyphae, कुछ और सोचना ही नहीं है. ठीक है, Aspergillus आंसर होगा इसका. Aspergillus क्या cause करता है? It causes opportunistic mycosis, which can also be caused by zygomycosis, penicillosis, candidiasis, cryptococcosis and pneumocystis. Aspergillosis में क्या क्या होगा? Allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis. Allergic, it is basically, it may be type 1 hypersensitivity in which it present as asthma, or type 3 hypersensitivity present as extrinsic alveolitis, or may be present as both type 1 and type 3. So asthma and extrinsic alveolitis both. Aspergilloma, which is basically a fungal ball within existing cavity, such as caused by tuberculosis. Okay, invasive aspergillosis, initially it causes pneumonia, later may invade other organs such as heart and brain. And superficial infections such as of middle ear otomycosis, which is commonly caused by Aspergillus niger and Aspergillus flavus, and mycotic keratitis and nasal sinusitis. Diagnosis tissue section में we can see the typical dichotomous branching. Dichotomous branching matlab dividing into two equal half. So this is dichotomous branching, which is seen in case of Aspergillus infection at an acute angle. Okay, acute angle में होगा, less than 90 degree होगा. ठीक है, around 45 degree के आसपास होता है. So this is the typical of Aspergillus infection. Typical dichotomous branching at an acute angle with septate hyphae. ठीक है, hyphae क्या होंगे? Septate होंगे. So this is about Aspergillus. Culture, Aspergillus colony, niger, black, flavus, yellow green, and fumigatus dark green. Apart from our structure which is seen in tissue section, culture में क्या दिखाई देगा? और conidiophore bearing conidias. Conidiophore bearing conidia can be also be seen. Serologically एक ऐसे करते हैं जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, गैलेक्टोमैनन एसे, जो कि सिर्फ हम एस्परजिलस में करते हैं. रिमेंबर ये क्वेश्चन पूछा गया है. गैलेक्टोमैनन एसे इज डन फॉर एस्परजिलस इन्फेक्शन. ओके, एंड ट्रीटमेंट इज कैन बी डन बाय एम्फोटेरिसिन बी एंड एजोल कंपाउंड सच एज itraconazole and fluconazole. Okay, so determine the species on the provided slide that has been dyed with the Gomori methenamine silver stain. Methenamine silver stain किस लिए करते हैं? डिस्कशन में बताया था मैंने, टिश्यू सेक्शंस के लिए. ठीक है, टू एग्जिबिट एक्यूट एंगल ब्रांचिंग. मैंने बोला था एक्यूट एंगल ब्रांचिंग सेप्टेट हाइफी, आंख मूंद के मार देना एस्परजिलस सही होएगा. सो यू कैन सी हियर दिस एक्यूट एंगल डाइकोटोमस ब्रांचिंग. ओके, दिस डाइकोटोमस ब्रांचिंग कैन बी सीन हियर. Here also you can see. Okay, based on the macroconidia in the picture below, determine which dermatophyte it is. Microsporum, trichophyton, epidermophyton, none of the above. So let's see the discussion first. ठीक है, तभी समझ में आएगा ये है क्या. ट्राइकोफाइटॉन जो होता है, इट इन्फेक्ट्स ऑल द थ्री स्ट्रक्चर, दैट इज स्किन, हेयर एंड नेल. माइक्रोस्पोरम्स ओनली स्किन एंड हेयर, एंड एपिडर्माफाइटॉन ओनली स्किन एंड नेल. ऐसे याद कर लो, M is closer to N, so it will not affect it. H is closer to E, so it will not affect it. जितना close है तो उसको affect नहीं कर रहा. You can remember it like this. So macroconidia in case of trichophyton. So trichophyton में microconidia is abundant. Okay, that is in microsporum. नाम में micro, but microconidia is rare, and in epidermophyton it is absent. Okay, so first this microconidia is abundant in ट्राइकोफाइटॉन. ठीक है, माइक्रोस्पोरम में रेयर है, एपिडर्मोफाइटॉन में है ही नहीं. इन मैक्रोकोनिडिया इन केस ऑफ ट्राइकोफाइटॉन, पॉइंट टू रिमेंबर, दो इट इज रेयर, बट इफ इट इज प्रेजेंट इट इज थिन वॉल्ड, इलोंगेटेड एंड स्मूथ वॉल्ड. स्मूथ वॉल्ड, द सरफेस इज स्मूथ. ओके, विथ ब्लंट एंड. सो इसका कैसा लुक होगा? सिगार और पेंसिल शेप्ड. सिगार और पेंसिल शेप्ड. In case of microsporum, macroconidia is numerous, and also in case of epidermophyton. The difference is it is rough walled, it is smooth walled, and the shape is, it is spindle shaped, it is club or pear shaped. Okay, and arranged in clusters. सो यही डिफरेंस है कि ट्राइकोफाइटॉन और एपिडर्मोफाइटॉन का जो सरफेस होगा स्मूथ होगा, इसमें ये रफ होगा। इंपॉर्टेंट है रिमेंबर करने के लिए कि इसका जो सरफेस है वो रफ है, ठीक है। और शेप में देखो, इट इज सिगार और पेंसिल शेप्ड, इट इज स्पिंडल शेप, इट इज क्लब शेप्ड, ठीक है। सो व्हाट इमेज इज इन द क्वेश्चन, क्या है? The question, if you see, it is club shaped, na? It is club shaped, and also the surface is smooth. Surface is smooth and it is club shaped. So what it is? It is epidermophyton. Okay, so answer to this question is epidermophyton. So you can see this diagram. This is pencil shaped trichophyton. This is spindle shaped rough surface microsporum, and this is club shaped epidermophyton. Okay, तीन चीज याद रखो, पेंसिल शेप ट्राइकोफाइटॉन, स्पिंडल शेप्ड रफ सरफेस एपिडर्म माइक्रोस्पोरम, क्लब शेप्ड स्मूथ सरफेस एपिडर्मोफाइटॉन, ठीक है। सो यू कैन सी हियर abundant microconidia and few pencil shaped microconidia, macroconidia. This is macro, this is micro. So what it is? This is trichophyton, ठीक है। रफ सरफेस स्पिंडल शेप्ड माइक्रोस्पोरम, क्लब शेप्ड स्मूथ सरफेस एपिडर्मोफाइटन। Okay, which of the following dimorphic fungus causes subcutaneous mycosis? Histoplasma capsulatum, blastomyces dermatitis, Penicillium magnifica, Sporothrix scancai. Subcutaneous mycosis dimorphic fungus is Sporothrix scancai. Sporothrix scancai, it causes sporotrichosis, which is a dimorphic fungus, and it is infection of cutaneous, subcutaneous and lymphatic tissue. Okay, and it is common in forest workers, gardeners and manual laborers, and it is usually follow minor trauma और thorn prick. तो कभी क्वेश्चन में लिखा होगा कि माइनर ट्रॉमा के बाद पेशेंट आया और उसको लिम्फेटिक्स हार्डेंड थे या इन्फेक्शंस था, तो माइनर ट्रॉमा को ध्यान रखना, अगर हो रहा है ट्रिवियल इंजरी से हो रहा है तो स्पोरोट्राइकोसिस भी हो सकता है और नोकार्डियोसिस भी हो सकता है, अगर याद रखना हो तो, ठीक है। तो माइनर ट्रॉमा और थॉर्न प्रिक कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है स्पोरोट्राइकोसिस के लिए। लीजन इनिशियली नोड्यूल्स होंगे विच में अल्सरेट एंड नेक्रोज्ड, later on it spreads to the lymph nodes and leads to secondary ulceration of lymph nodes, and the lymphatics become hardened and cord like, and this is known as lymphocutaneous sporotrichosis. Lymphocutaneous sporotrichosis. Okay, and microscopically how it will appear? It will appear characteristic asteroid bodies, स्प्लेंडोरहॉपली phenomenon किस में और मिलेगा? एक्टिनोमाइकोसिस में। एक्टिनोमाइकोसिस में भी स्प्लेंडोरहॉपली phenomenon मिलता है। इट इज characteristic asteroid bodies which is basically round to oval basophilic yeast like body surrounded by rays of eosinophilic substance. तो ऐसा yeast like bodies होगा और ऐसा ढेर सारे rays of eosinophilic substances को सराउंड करेंगे। सो दिस इज एस्टेरॉइड बॉडी seen in Sporothrix scancai, which is known as Splendor-Hopley phenomenon. Basophilic yeast body surrounded by eosinophilic rays like substance, and this substance is basically antigen antibody complex. Serologically, latex administration can be performed using peptide L-rhamno-D-mannan as antigen. Treatment for cutaneous potassium iodide, lymphocutaneous itraconazole and systemic amphotericin B. So these are the questions which I have discussed in this part. In the next part, I will discuss few more questions and then you will be ready for the examination. Okay, all the best.